seasoned guy had left, and I was just going through his pool, and it did not click when I saw Paul Simon that it might be the Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel or whatever. So
That's insane.
yeah, I called him up, and he wasn't too happy to hear from me. So his manager called Sweetwater to complain, and it was a whole thing. But shortly after
hilarious.
that, I decided, I didn't like talking about music all day and not making it. So it was, I just had a moment when I was like at the phones one day. I was just like, this is a tough career. I've moved across the country and back for it. And I'm sitting here on phones talking to people who are actually making music right now instead of actually making music. So it's like, this isn't the way for me or whatever. It's a great company and the people are great and they have good culture and all that stuff. But like, it was just a thing that I was like, probably not my bag of tea, and need to go somewhere, try it again. So I actually went back and started doing more records in the basement, but I also looked around for other gigs that were, still along the lines of either physically doing audio myself in a studio setting or like music. So I landed at a post-production studio in town. They were doing basically like I was a sound designer and engineer for like Toyota and McDonald's and commercials, stuff like that. So it was, making sizzle sounds for burgers and stuff like that. But that was great. In 2009, there was a recession in the US and I was laid off from that job. And when that happened, I'm probably like 9 years into my career at this point, 8-9 years. When that happened, a friend of mine had just started a music composition gig for a video game company. And he got a huge contract. It was like 40 some games. And he called me. It was somebody that was in that first band with me. And he was now living in Las Vegas. And he called me and he was like, I got this gig composing the music. And I just said yes, because why wouldn't I say yes? That sounds awesome. But he's like, I don't know how to run Pro Tools or anything. Do you want to hop on this gig with me? So I was like, yes, absolutely. And it was like a 3-month contract for this thing. So he was like, well, why don't you just like come out to Vegas? You just got laid off. You're just in your apartment by yourself looking for gigs. So he's like, why don't you come out and stay with me for 3 months? And I was like, that sounds awesome. I'll go be in Vegas and write music with you. So I went out and it turned out that there was this beautiful girl that was a roommate with he and 3 other people. And when I was there for 3 months, like we would, go explore the canyons and everything. And that her name is Laura, and she later became my wife, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So basically while I was there, we met, we started dating. We did all the video game stuff. It was awesome. And I came back, we were dating long distance for like a year. And in that year, I met somebody named Cindy Vaughn, who is a vocal coach in Columbus. An amazing vocal coach. She like had coached people on America's Got Talent and Star Search, I think was the one in the 80s. But she had a whole thing going, like a whole school. And somebody from the post-production place had reached out to me, like who knew her, and was like, hey, this lady's looking for a recording engineer. It's basically recording her students for demos and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, like I was back from the video game gig and just looking for, like, I was doing random freelance work. I would do work actually back at that post-production place a little bit and other places in town. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I went in and I would record with her, record her students, and that was going on. And then I made the decision to move to Vegas because I felt like it was going to be easier for me to make a living there than it was like freelancing around Columbus. And when I did that, she basically offered me a full-time job if I stayed and a part-time job if I left. So I was like, well, I want to go see what's happening with Laura. So I was like, I'll do the part-time gig working remotely, basically. So this is 2010, I think, at this point. And it was the dawn of Source Connect, if you know what that is.
I know the name sounds familiar.
Yeah. like before Audio Movers, and
Right,
Source
right.
Connect is still around. They started as a replacement for what's called ISDN, which is a way that people used to do voice over long distance. There goes over like
Yes.
data telephone.
I have heard of Source Connect.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
cool. I think reporters use it, right? For
Yes.
like recording the news.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that's what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, being in Jerusalem, I randomly get asked like stuff like that. Like, oh, do you do Source Connect? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like from like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I think Audio Movers is a better solution now, but Source Connect has some other like time sync things that are important for like video lock and all that. But anyway, that was what was around at the time, and I knew of it because of the post-production work I had been doing. So I was like, I think I can run the sessions remotely if I build like a vocal booth before I leave, and then I'll have like a couple mics that are there. And she had a receptionist at the desk, so I trained the receptionist like, hey, if I call and I ask you to go put this microphone up, this is which one it is. You can find it here. You just plug this cable into here, swap it out on the stand, whatever. And then they would stay on the call, and I would just tell them like, oh, can you click up the preamp a couple clicks or whatever. And so I was kind of like remotely running this session from my house in Las Vegas in like 2010. Then we were doing a bunch of that. It was going well. And then Cindy wanted to build a bigger place. So she was like, I want to build like a full scale commercial studio here in Columbus. And it's going to be half lessons on one side of the building and a commercial recording studio on the other. So we started kind of planning and looking around for buildings. Her husband,
I feel like that's a crazy venture in like 2010, right? That's like when all the studios are kind of like closing and budgets are disintegrating.
Right. Yeah. People thought we were crazy. Like the staff, when we showed them the plans for it, like the drawings and everything, we did like a meeting to show them all. And one of the guys that was like pretty well respected in town, like great player, and we were lucky to have him teaching there. He was like, well, it's great to dream. He's like, all right, guys, I got to go. And he like got up and left because he was just like, there's no way you're pulling that off or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if you're going to pull this off, too, like from Las Vegas or whatever. Like, I was not thinking I was going to end up back in Columbus because this was going to like fully work out. But as it kept on going, I was like, wow, she's really actually doing this. This is amazing. And then I started flying back and forth once we broke ground and like got the building and everything. So it became real really fast. And we hired Carl Tatz from Nashville to do the room. He helped out with the design. Yeah, so I started going back and forth like during the building of it. I got to be a large part of the design. She put so much faith in me, and I'm like forever grateful for that because even things like it's a 2-story building, and the live room the space we had for the live room was 1,000 square feet, but it was like this old building that was built in the 50s, and it used to be like office space. And she was like, I want everything in here gone. I want the empty shell, and I want to start from scratch. And like budget wasn't going to let that happen. But she's like, if you could do anything to this live room, because it had like a 10-foot ceiling or something. She's like, if you could do anything in here, what would you do? And I was like, I would knock the ceiling out and make it 2 stories. And she's like, cool, let's do it. I was like, what? That makes no sense. Like that's less billable space and all that, it was a terrible business decision, but yes, let's do it. So it was,
wow.
Yeah. Again, at the time when everybody's like, you don't need large live rooms, we're like, let's build a large live room, So
why do you think she had so much faith in you? Like it's like there was a reason why she like wanted to give you that job. Like she just believed in you. She wanted you to do it. Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely put in as much effort as I possibly could anytime I was working with her, for sure. Like I was working really, really hard, and anytime that she needed something, I made sure that the answer was always yes, even if I had to like figure some things out to make it happen. Like she had a really good student that was in his early 20s who wanted to make some demos, and she didn't want it to go out to another producer in town. Like she wanted to be very involved with it. So she was like, I want to record this here. This is in the old building. And I was like, we don't really have any separation or anything. I have my gear from my old studio. So, things like just being like, I will go tear apart my entire studio and bring it down here so that we can record for a day, like really going the extra mile to just kind of make sure everything was good. I did some songwriting with their students, and I think that she, hopefully saw some use there and like, some talent there. And I think the other thing was that like, I made an effort to get along with everybody for sure, like with the students and make them comfortable. That's the customer
You
service
didn't
part.
half-ass anything. You were all in on whatever it was that she wanted from you. Basically.
I definitely tried to do that. Yeah.
That's super important takeaway for the listeners, and it's something I also try to do is just always give it 100.
Yeah.
If you're working with somebody, then you just got to give it 100%. You know what I mean?
The way I think about that is, it's not unique, but it's like if I'm gonna show up to work, like it's crazy because we do music, right? So work is amazing and it's great to go to every day. Like I don't ever dread going to work, but if I'm going to be at work instead of like, hanging out with my son or with my wife or my family or whatever, like if we're gonna do this, like I'm gonna do it like awesome, right? Because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know, like. It's maybe morbid, but I don't want to get to the end of it all and be like, ugh, yeah, I just kind of floated through that, didn't I?
Right. Yeah. I don't take you as somebody who just floats through it.
I try not to, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
Totally. Hey everyone, it's 2022. If you still don't have a website for your studio, it's time to change that. Every single month, there are potential clients out there Googling your name, trying to find your portfolio, and deciding if you're the right choice for their music. If they can't find your portfolio, you miss out on the gig. The fastest way to get your first website up and running is by using EasyFunnels, the #1 website builder for recording studios. Their templates are all made for the audio industry, so you can just load one of their pre-built designs, upload your portfolio, add your photos, and replace the text on the pages. You could probably have your website done in the time it takes you to listen to one episode of Secret Sonics. If you're finally trying to create your website ASAP, you can get 50% off your first 3 months of EasyFunnels by going to easyfunnels.io/secretsonics, and there's a link in the show notes below, so go check it out. All right, back to the episode. Wait, so you moved back to Vegas. I'm assuming at some point you came back to Columbus.
Yes, yeah, sorry. So after we got the plans, like the place is being built, and it's all basically like once we had kind of broken ground, we had the design, Carl was hired on. People were in there starting to, tear down walls and everything. She's like, all right, so this is the point where you either come back and run the place or I have to move on or whatever, That was basically that. And it totally made sense because it's like, you need somebody that is going to be here full time to run this because it can't be done remotely with me on, Zoom and Source Connect or whatever. So,
right.
That obviously it was like she offered me the full-time position again. And at just kind of serendipitously, my wife, who had a great job as an analyst in Las Vegas at a bank called HSBC, she was laid off maybe like a month before I got that offer. So she is originally from Lithuania, had no ties to Las Vegas, no family or anything like that. So she got laid off, and we were already kind of thinking about what's next. Like, am I going to be serious with this thing back in Columbus? Or we had talked about moving to Los Angeles at that point. It was like, well, maybe I'll make another go of Los Angeles. It's only, 5-6 hours away. Like, and go try that. But yeah, like Cindy made an incredible offer and a very rare offer. Like I have not heard of many people getting an offer like that. Like not necessarily financially, like numbers wise or anything, but just getting an actual like salaried offer at a studio in 2010 was a very rare thing,
right?
That's
yeah. I mean, 2010 was when I started recording because it was like the first time in my life I didn't have people to play with, right? So, the TLDR of my story is I moved to Israel at 22 for the first time. I didn't have bandmates, and I was like alone with music, and I was like, I guess I got to learn how to record or whatever. So then I got super into it, and then I was like, okay, let me try to like get an internship at a studio, and like. Nobody wanted me, right? Like everybody's like, it's just me. I just do this in my own little tiny studio, and I got like an internship, but it wasn't a particularly busy studio, and they were more focused on video also. And but I just at a certain point, I was like, I guess I'm just opening up a shop. Like this is it. I guess I'm a business, right? Like So like that, I know exactly what time that was, and in 12 years ago, that was exactly when nothing was. Yeah, it was like I feel like the industry was most stagnant then. Right.
Yeah. So that was like one of the luckiest moments I could ask for, right? Like it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Also, have I looked for this on your podcast? I'm going to totally like break our show flow up here. I was looking for your, kind of like your origin story on the podcast. I found the intro one, but have you done like a full thing on there?
That's a